Hello everyone, after a short vacation we are returning back with more videos from the Aquarist. In this video, I will mainly go through the water parameters again, which is a very important topic, that everyone must clearly understand. Water, which occupies more than 70% of Earth, is not pure water. There are dissolved minerals, salts and other substances, which differs from one place to another. It can also contain some organic material which will produce ammonia, nitrites and nitrates as seen in the nitrogen cycle video. The first parameter to explain is the pH. The pH is the power of hydrogen, which is mainly a scale to measure the water acidity or alkalinity. The scale starts with 0 and up to 14, where the neutral point is at the midpoint or the value 7. Moving down from 7 means that the water is becoming acidic, and moving up from 7 means that the water is becoming alkaline. The water might be fluctuating between the acidic and alkaline around the neutral midpoint, and as long as these fluctuations are not too high, then your fish will be safe and sound. But if the fluctuations become too high, then the fish will be in danger. So keeping an eye on the pH levels is recommended, especially if you have an aquascape that contains a lot of gravel, sand and stones. If there is a lot of organic material in the tank, whether fish wastes, food remains or old melted plant leaves, then this will increase the pH level, while having healthy plants growth in planted tanks with CO2 will decrease the pH level. To alter, or change the pH level in the tank, you can use some substances like driftwood, and peat moss to decrease the pH, or calcium, limestone, crushed corals, and baking soda to increase the pH. Different companies have ready-made products that you can use as well. Seachem has several products, for example Pond pH Buffer, which keeps the pH level between 7.2 and 8.2. It is also the neutral regulator which keeps the pH level neutral at 7. The acid regulator which keeps the pH level in the acidic range between 4.5 and 6.8. The alkaline regulator which keeps the pH level in the alkaline range between 7.1 and 7.6. It is also a couple of acidic and alkaline regulators targeting planted tanks, and some products that target specific fish. So if your tank contains discus fish, then the discus buffer can be used which keeps pH between 5.8 and 6.8. While for goldfish the gold buffer which keeps the pH level between 7.2 and 7.8 can be used. API has also several products that you can use, for example the pH down, which lowers the pH up, which increases the pH. They also have a range of products that can adjust the pH level to a specific value, for example adjusts the pH to 6.5, 7, 7.5 or 8.2. And of course you can find other products from other companies as well. To be able to test the pH level in the tank, then you can use a test kit, for example the API 5-in-1 test strips, or you can use something like litmus paper, which you can easily find in any local store, or even buy online from Amazon. Now, let's talk about the TDS. The water TDS is the total dissolved solids or salts in the water, which in very simple words is the measure of all the inorganic and organic substances dissolved in the water, and in short we refer to it as the water hardness, where some fish likes hard water, while others like soft water, and can be divided into KH or carbonate hardness, and GH or general hardness. KH or carbonate hardness measures the carbonates and bicarbonates in the water, and accordingly it has a pH buffering capacity, or in other words the KH helps neutralize the water acidity, and is helpful to avoid the pH fluctuations that we mentioned in the pH video. The lower the KH the more the pH can fluctuate, while the higher the KH the more stability for your pH levels. To increase the KH level, and accordingly the buffering capacity, you can use crushed shells, or corals, which will increase your pH level. The KH is measured in degrees of KH, its symbol is DKH, or can be measured in parts per million or ppm, where 1 DKH equals 18 parts per million. For freshwater you would target a KH between 4 and 8 DKH, or between 72 to 144 parts per million. But you need to double check these numbers versus the fish that you will keep, because some fish will require lower KH, while others will require higher KH. There are small battery operated devices like the one in the picture, that you can use to measure the overall TDS of the water, while for measuring the KH you can probably use some test strips like this one from API. Now, let's check together the GH or general hardness. GH or general hardness measures the amount of calcium and magnesium ions in the water. These ions are important to have healthy fish, shrimp and plants in your aquarium tank. As seen before in the KH, the GH is measured using degrees of GH or DGH. It can also be measured in parts per million or ppm. For freshwater you would target a GH between 4 and 8 DGH, or 72 to 144 parts per million, but you need to double check versus the fish that you will keep, because some fish will require higher GH, for example livebearers, like guppy, platy, molly, and swordtail will love to have higher GH, and in this case you will have a lot of baby fries in the tank, if you provide them with all the necessary conditions for breeding. While other fish like the discus, for example, like soft water, and in this case you should target 3 DGH, or around 50 parts per million. To test the GH, you can use multi-purpose test strips like the ones provided by API, which measures pH, GH, KH, nitrite and nitrate. If you are facing a slow-growth fish, incomplete shrimp molting, or plants deficiencies, then the two parameters that you need to check would be the GH and the KH, and there are several products as seen in the previous videos that you can use to increase the GH and KH. There are also products that you can use to reduce them. One note regarding the GH is that you need to remember that GH measures both calcium and magnesium in the water, so in some cases the magnesium level might be high, while the calcium level is low, and in such cases, you will also suffer from low fish and plants growth, and incomplete molting of the shrimp external skeleton. In such cases there are calcium tests that you can use like the one in the picture. Don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the small bell for the notifications, and while you are here check out these other videos.